Good evening. This is the Administration and Public Works Committee. Alderman Burse is away this evening, so I will substitute for her. We have a quorum, and may we have a motion to accept the minutes of the February 9th meeting?
Move for approval. Second.
Are there any additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing no lights, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, items for consideration. The first item is the City of Evanston payroll through February 8th, 2015, in the amount of $3,259,779.46. Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? 2A, for funding year 2014, the City of Evanston bills through February 24th, 2015 is $145,666.52, and 2015 bills through February 24th, 2015 is $1,456,475.26. Move approval. Before we vote, has everybody had a chance to see the bills list? And the questions? Yes, Alderman Rainey.
You know, one of the questions I asked was about these two paint jobs.
Yes, I saw that.
You know, I'm told it's a large classroom. I haven't seen either of them. I didn't read this until late last night, but two large classrooms, $3,000 apiece. $3,150. So that's $6,150 for two large classrooms with 13-foot ceilings. You know, I mean,
Well,
I know, well, what kind of condition were these? I mean, why would classrooms at Noyes Cultural Arts Center be in such horrible condition that it would cost that? I just don't understand that. And I just think that that's an extraordinary amount of money for paint.
Mr. Merriwan's here to answer Alderman Rainey, but those rooms the ceilings are extremely high. I know that part I do know, because we use those rooms for meetings.
Scaffolding and ladders.
Okay.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jim Mayworm, Assistant Director of Public Works, Operations and Maintenance. Yes, Alderman Maney, actually, most of the cost was in the preparation for the painting. The walls themselves needed a lot of scraping and patching due to the plaster work that they had, with numerous coats of prime and then coats of paint. Normally, we try to do a lot of this work or share the burden with in-house staff, but in-house staff was busy doing numerous other projects at this time, so we just subcontracted it out. We do seek price quotes, and both of these quotes were the cheapest.
I'm going into the painting business right after I go into the standpipe business.
That will be our next career, Alderman Rainey. Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Alderman Breathwaite.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move item 3.2, the approval of a one-year contract extension with Mid-America Water of Wakanda for...
No, sorry, 831.
Oh, sorry. I just skipped one. How about I move that one? Ready?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move item 3.1, approval of the renewal for printing contract with Action Printing for the Evanston Life magazine and annual summer camp guide.
It's been moved and second. Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Rainey?
We're being asked to approve and recommend to the council a one-year contract extension with Mid-America Water Wakanda for the 2015 water distribution systems materials. Oh, wait, it's in the amount of $64,739.
Okay. Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Alderman Grover?
Madam Chair, I move A3.3, approval of a contract with G&M Trucking for the purchase of our 2015 granular materials for the Utilities Department in the amount of $35,828.
Second.
It's been moved in second, seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, A 3.4, approval of the renewal of the annual City Works maintenance and support contract with Atika Systems Incorporated in the amount of $22,405. It's been moved in second, seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Alderman Brathwaite. 835.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item A 3.5, approval of 4 vehicle purchases for Utilities Department from Curry Motors and Standard Equipment Company
In the amount of,
in the amount of, what is that, $351,595.
no, the total amount, I think it's 412.
465, is it 500? Or am I?
412.65,
Yeah,
675.
675.
675, thank you.
Okay.
Pardon.
Second? Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Rainey?
Yes, ma'am. We're asked to approve and recommend to the council the 2015 fuel purchases from Palatine Oil Company in the total amount of $792,000.
It's been moved in second, seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I move A 3.7, which is the approval of a consulting services agreement for the Clark Street Beach Bird Habitat Restoration Project, awarding a contract to Kettle Camp and Kettle Camp in the amount of $27,500.50.
Second.
Okay. I have, before we move on, we do have one speaker for A 3.7. Ms. Beatty? You want to speak on this item, A 3.7? 3.7? Yes, ma'am. Sorry, and this one is.
I live in the first ward where that is located, and this last September, when I was working with some volunteers, they were instructed to pull out weeds along the lakefront, and some of them happened to be habitats for birds and all that sort of stuff. And in addition, we've had people digging out plants in Patriots Park. So I thought perhaps it might be an idea to consider the Patriot Park situation and the Dog Beach and Clark Street Beach area, along with the specifically stated or identified place for having a bird sanctuary, because the birds probably don't read English very well. And I think that if people are going to be digging out the wild plants on one side and planting them in the other, some of us in the neighborhood might become quite frustrated. So I'd like to suggest you think of including that whole area, perhaps even with putting Lunt Park in with it, because they all could support our bird population a lot better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Grover and then Alderman Rainey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of points I want to make. One is just a reminder that the building in question was built entirely on private property, did not use public property for the building. And I had wanted to note, too, that we've done a lovely job of restoring the Clark Street Beach dune habitat, and I believe that was mostly a city-designed effort. I don't recall specifically. And this habitat will be a really nice companion at Clark Street Beach. And the last thing is the question about the nature of the public involvement that we might anticipate for this project. I don't know if staff or
I think Stephanie
Ms.
can.
Levy.
Well, this is the consultant part of it.
Right.
So,
Good evening, Stephanie Levine, Public Works. We are planning to hold public meetings for the project where we can discuss ideas and particulars about how we want to conduct the restoration. So that will be part of this contract that's before you tonight.
Right, thank you. And my compliments to you then on the dune restoration at Clark Street Beach. Thank you.
So there will be then an opportunity for Ms. Beatty to speak before that group for these suggestions? Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Did you hear that, Ms. Beatty?
Would it be possible to have a little more notice than 30 hours of
In-
a public meeting? I really would appreciate it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's sort of difficult to sometimes find out when these things are being held.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll see what we can, we will certainly make that recommendation.
Maybe I should start a campaign to allow 1 whole week ahead of time. Thank you, people.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. I see no more lights. It's been moved, and I believe second. Was it second? Jessica, okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Alderman Grover. Oh, it's my turn? Okay, I'm sorry. A 3.8, approval of the contract for repair and repainting of the north and south standpipes, bid 15-05, in the amount of $3,271,043. Move approval. Alderman Rainey.
All right, on this one, I don't quite understand about the MWEBE. I saw that they're going to hire somebody. But what we're saying in the documents we received and also on the blue sheet is that partial LEP waiver request subject to the final analysis of the certified payroll. What's that got to do?
Madam Chair.
We're going to approve this and then, I don't understand.
Director Lyons can answer that.
Yes, Alderman Rainey, the way the fine is now set up, and it was similar in the past, but we're really following the procedure of, in order to determine final compliance, we have to see all of the certified payrolls when the project is done. So the plan by the recommended vendor is that they have a 6 to 8 person crew, and they will hire one Evanston resident that does not need to get the high wire certifications that are required, but they will be a laborer. And I actually just spoke again today with the recommended vendor who clearly understands the LEP requirement, but there is no subcontracting, in their opinion, for the project. So that's why the MWEBE is being recommended with a full waiver.
And I also had to do something with the certification that their workers have to go through with OSHA and everything else to receive. I think that's what I read.
And we are working diligently where that will not be a barrier in the future. We've been having members, residents on our LEP list begin with OSHA training, and we want to continue to reach out directly with vendors to say, tell us how we get them to your training class, and as a part of the program, we'll try and fund as much as possible for those individuals so that that's not an excuse. And they have their insurance. And if you recall, a year ago, we had this discussion when we rewrote the LEP. The vendors were adamant about their concern, but also understood we wanted to get over that barrier and start to get Evanston residents trained so that we could meet their concern, not just ignore it. So we will continue to do that, and we have training scheduled for this spring.
All right, I understand some of that. I didn't understand about checking the payroll for a local Evanston resident, so that's it. But I just want to talk to Alderman Braithwaite for 1 minute and remind him of previous conversations we've had about this issue.
Right.
And that is that we seem to debate over the $100,000 jobs, the $200,000 jobs. You get a job like this, and it's real money, and these are the jobs we ought to fight for. So I'm thinking maybe we need to look at another way of looking at this, and this is the same conversation a year ago that we had. You know, when they can't meet this, they've got to pay up big time. And they've got to pay up so that we can then pay for additional people to go to training. I mean, that's the point, to get people hired. And to give people a waiver on $3 million jobs is, those are the jobs we need to capture for local residents. I'm not so interested in, you know, the $3 million jobs satisfying our minority women and Evanston business requirement with somebody from Blue Island. That doesn't interest me at all. And we do that frequently, you know. But this is really important, I think, and we just shouldn't let it go. And hiring one Evanston resident, to me, is a joke, just plain joke.
Well, thank you, Alderman. Unfortunately, I don't sit in through the bid meetings, so I'm reading the information the same time that you are, real time, but I hear you. Yeah.
You are on the MWD
Absolutely,
committee, and
absolutely.
We've got to have some firmer direction. And
Couldn't agree more.
anyway.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, I believe. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, A 3.9, we do have a speaker, so I'm going to call the speaker first. Mr. Gordon, you want to?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm Gerald Gordon. I live at 1228 Lake Street. I have lived there for 50 years. I'm here to talk about this proposal for the Emerson Ridge Green Bay intersection. And I think it's pretty expensive at $500,000. The wording in this proposal says $499,000 for the selected option. Is that for the engineering or for the work?
Is that?
Pardon me?
I'm having someone come up to answer it for you.
I'm sorry.
I'm having someone come up to answer the question.
Can we go through the presentation?
Well, you know, we
This is
do
for
have a
engineering.
presentation.
Just for engineering.
Yes.
What's the project going to cost?
Let me go through the whole presentation.
Yeah, okay. But let me finish my statement,
Yeah,
and you
go
can
ahead.
make your presentation. I think that's a lot of money, whether it's for the engineering or whether it's for the project. I believe that that triple intersection could be made a lot safer with the installation of flashing bright yellow caution lights throughout the intersection and proper signage reminding or notifying drivers that they're approaching a dangerous merge and to be cautious. And I think that that would go a long way to resolving the problem there rather than this big construction project. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have a presentation on this project, so I think you'll find this interesting.
I beg your pardon.
We're having a presentation on the project. That's coming up next.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Sap, you want to?
Jonathan.
Already get the light. Is it that one?
No, hit the wrong one.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee, Sat Nagar, City Engineer. We have a brief presentation. This presentation has two parts. The first part is the Emerson Ridge Green Bay intersection and the Green Bay Road itself, the improvements. The second part is the streetscape and the landscape options. So just to start with the project limits, as you can see, the limits of the project on Emerson are from Oak to Asbury, and then on Ridge from Garnet Place all the way to Clark, and then on Green Bay, it's the limits are from McCormick all the way to Clark Street. So existing conditions, the existing signals are all outdated signals, and we have vehicle-to-vehicle 130 conflict points, very difficult for pedestrian and transit access. And as you all know, it's the viaduct aesthetics and the inadequate lighting. So there are several existing conditions. With that, let's move on to the project goals. What are we trying to achieve from this project? Our primary concern is to enhance the pedestrian safety. And we have the lanes pretty much all over, so we need to simplify the travel patterns and the lane usage. And modernize and coordinate the signals. That means right now each signal is, operates on its own. So when there is a red, other will have a green. So we do not have any synchronization. As a part of this project, all the way from our plan is all the way from Asbury Avenue to Clark. We are going to interconnect all the signals, and they will be all in one system. So if you are approaching this intersection at the speed limit, 30 miles per hour, you should be able to get through this. So that can be achieved only by using the modernized signals and interconnecting them. And then, as you can see, the northbound ridge and the southbound Green Bay, there is an elevation difference that is kind of awkward, and it's also confusing. So we are planning to take out that elevation difference. So all the way from the intersection to Clark, they'll be at the same level. And also, in addition, improve the viaduct lighting, the streetscape, and create a gateway to downtown. Golf to Emerson is pretty much a major route to the downtown. So we want to create a nice downtown. As a part of this, we will also want to improve Green Bay. What can be done along Green Bay, and how we can bring in more economic vitality, how to energize the Green Bay corridor. Right now we have the lanes which are not being fully used. So that's also part of the project in addition to the transit access. So when we started this project, we started with an advisory committee of the Alderman Wilson and Alderman Braithwaite, and then some and also the community members, with their affiliations. So this is a long list. So with the people who are involved in this project, so we started advisory committee, and we hired ESI as our prime consultant, and then the Kettle Camp is our landscape and streetscape architect. We had community engagement team just to coordinate with most of the public meetings as well. So these are the list of the projects after the council approved. This is the list of the projects. We started with a public meeting showing the existing condition. Then we met with the advisory committee a couple of times, try to refine the options and the improvements. And then we went to the 5th ward. Then we went to we had our second public meeting showing the 3 different options, how we can improve the traffic flow, the pattern, the safety issues. And then we came to on December 8th to the ANPW. We made a presentation with 3 options as well. And then we met with Alderman Holmes and Alderman Grover and just explained the whole, what is the whole plan along Green Bay. This Green Bay corridor goes beyond this project, McCormick, all the way to the north city limits, which is the Isabella Street. So we made pretty much came up with the concept, those are the drawings which are outside as well. So and then we did have a third public meeting as well, just to get solicit more input. Okay, with those, let me just give a brief outline of the survey. We had a web survey also. We had about 480 respondents. The survey is from 1 to 10. 10 represents the most preferred option, and 1 the least preferred. So I'm going to go through this, and I may come back to survey. See, the cul-de-sac option, as you can see, had pretty much no support. A lot of the people didn't want us to go through this cul-de-sac option, in which we are going to create a cul-de-sac along Green Bay at Emerson. So the second option is the one-way northbound, in which I'm going to go to the presentation, but most of you know that as a part of this, the Green Bay will be able to use Green Bay going northbound only, the southbound use Asbury to Emerson. So this pretty much, this is still kind of in a range of 1 to 5. You see most of the respondents to the survey. The 3-lane option, in which there will be 1 lane each way on Green Bay, and the turn lanes at Emerson intersection. This was pretty widely well received from the survey results. And pretty much same thing with Green Bay. When we did make the presentation showing Green Bay as a 3-lane corridor, this was well received from the survey information. What you have these bar charts indicating pretty much 5 and above. Okay, this option is eliminated because we had confusing travel patterns, which is the cul-de-sac option, and kind of isolates the businesses at this intersection as well, and reduces the most parking spaces, and this was least preferred, so we pretty much took this out of the equation. The next is the one-way northbound option, in which most the traffic that would be coming on Green Bay would use Asbury Avenue and then make a left on Emerson, so they can go to downtown or they can use Ridge Avenue. There are some changes to the travel pattern in this because people who are used to traveling on Green Bay has to use Asbury and then use Emerson. So there's a net parking loss of 8 spaces, improves the overall level of service, and that reduces the conflict points, improves the pedestrian and crossing and visibilities. In this, the opportunity in this is along Green Bay, provides a lot of plaza space here for landscaping and seating, and provides more parking along on-street along Green Bay. This is the 3-lane cross-section in which we have 1 lane each way on Green Bay, and you have a turn lane here at Emerson. So there will be offset, so people can pretty much use Green Bay to go to downtown, or if they're coming here, they can use the turn lane here going west on Emerson as well. So this is very similar to the one-way northbound with loss of less parking spaces lost, reduces the conflicts, and the opportunities along Green Bay is pretty much direct access to downtown. This option appears to be most appealing based on the input we received and the feedback from the community. So, and then moving on to the Green Bay, the proposed 3-lane cross-section on Green Bay with 1 lane in each direction and a left-turn lane provides a lot of green space, streetscapes, provides the areas for the bus pullouts that improves the transit access, improves pedestrian crossing when you shorten the street, gives more visibility, as I mentioned last time. Right now, people are waiting at Noyes or Simpson, pretty much have to keep on bending over the street to see if the buses are coming. So a lot of those issues can be addressed by changing the configuration of Green Bay. Safer for vehicles because they're better defined. Now the people try to overtake each other and change the lanes. We can pretty much eliminate all those options. As long as the signals are synchronized to a certain speed, the traffic can get through. So we have done that analysis and we are pretty confident with that. So it increases the pedestrian access and brings in a lot of economic vitality on the west side because people will be able to walk. There will be a parkway and the sidewalk. This is as far as the intersection and the roadway. Now Ryan from Kettle Camp will be making the presentation regarding the landscape and the streetscape options. So, Ryan.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm Ryan Kettlecamp. Together with my wife, Claire Kettlecamp, we are Kettlecamp and Kettlecamp Landscape Architecture located at 1315 Sherman Place here in Evanston. We're Evanston residents as well. What we'll be looking at in this corridor between Emerson and McCormick, everything that we're looking at on the plan that's green or highlighted green is a landscaping opportunity. Through the streetscape enhancements, we'll be looking at several different areas. We'll be talking about, and I'll have a series of slides that illustrate these opportunities. We'll be widening sidewalks and actually expanding green space on both sides of Green Bay in terms of expanding the parkways. We'll be looking at the plantings on the embankment as well as the addition of street trees up and down Green Bay. The intersection of McCormick and Green Bay is a critical one, and there's an opportunity there to create a monument sign. We'll be talking about that. There are also some substantial opportunities for some key intersection or nodes where people who are walking or people who are taking public transportation gather. We'll call those public spaces, and those will be attractively furnished with site furniture. In addition, lastly, we'll talk about the bridge at Emerson and Ridge and what we hope to achieve there. All in all, in terms of the goals that we're looking at, we are looking at creating an identity. It's important that the identity that was established up at the north end of Green Bay, up at Isabella, that identity be carried down the street. That theme was established there. Sometimes people mistake that as a Wilmette landscape treatment. That one now we hope to link further south. Identity is important. Of course, it needs to be beautiful. And then together with the engineers, we'll be working to create, to making sure that the solution is a functional one and that it is a safe one. So let's take each of those areas really quickly. This cross section shows you what we gain by right-sizing the Green Bay corridor. You'll be looking at on the left hand, well, let's go to the top. Let me go back here really quickly. There, thanks. I appreciate it. Up here, this section helps to explain quite a lot as far as what we're gaining in the right sizing of Green Bay Road. There's an expanded green space opportunity over there. In addition, the sidewalks get wider. That same expanded green space opportunity carries across the street where there's currently nothing. That's also the additional location where we're gaining some additional safety features for the pedestrians that might be walking on that side of the street. The lighting will be enhanced on that corridor as well as the embankment will be treated. That treatment on the embankment is a pretty exciting one, and it really speaks toward that opportunity for beautification, for creating identity. We're going to preserve the existing healthy trees that are growing on the embankment, and we're going to build off of that with a successful landscape treatment. That treatment is going to be graphically bold, as you can see in the cross section here. There's your metro train that's going by, here's your pace bus, and there's a person driving in a car. Substantial opportunities on that embankment to really create a strong identity, to make it beautiful in all 4 seasons of the year. That landscape has to be sustainable. It has to be easily maintained. A lot of the plantings that were put in 20 years ago up north are still doing well. We're looking at our successes in the north part of Evanston in the Green Bay corridor, and we're taking those same successes and we're carrying them south so that we know that we have a sustainable, maintainable solution. But we want that solution to be refined and memorable. When people go by, we want them either on the train, in a bus, or driving, or people walking as well. We want them we want to get their attention. We want them to remember that this is a key section of town. At the intersection of McCormick and Green Bay, there is this opportunity. Imagine that you're coming down McCormick and that you're headed straight for the embankment. Ahead of you is this opportunity to, again, echo that theme that was already started up at Isabella and to bring it south. A little bit of the same brickwork that occurs up at Isabella is brought down to McCormick, and this also gives us the opportunity to actually create announcements for community, or sort of a community event board, so that when people are stopped at that intersection, they can see what's going to happen. That is made possible during the day, obviously, because it's going to be bold and graphic. And then at night as well, we want to make sure that we've got some lighting that will play up on that monument feature so that those community events are well illustrated and conveyed to people. A lot of people have asked what's going to happen to the existing stonework there. A lot of that's been damaged, and it is going to be restored as a component of this particular project. Other really exciting opportunities that we've got up and down. Let's orient ourselves. Here we have Noyes, here we have Payne, and here we have Simpson. There are the opportunities at these key nodes to create these successful plazas, similar to the one that you all may be familiar with at Asbury and Howard, where in front of the CVS store there's a really successful bus stop where people, it's wonderful. On a volunteer basis, I was involved in that project a number of years ago, and it's great to drive by that intersection in the morning and see people gathered at that intersection using it successfully. We feel like what we've done in that situation is activated that corner. So
Can I just ask you, if you would just go back to the embankment piece at McCormick and Green Bay?
Absolutely, Alderman Holmes. There you go.
Alderman Breathway had a question.
Yeah.
That's the existing, and then that's the proposed.
Right, and so if that's the corner where
you're looking straight here. That's right where you're coming in from where McCormick tees into Green Bay. So you're stopped at the light, and that's what's directly in front of you on the embankment.
Okay. Because we have a history in town where every other
I'm
year
familiar.
we have a lot of young students whose cars go and they hit that embankment and bad things tend to happen. So I just wanted to make sure that I was looking from the right perspective because it seems like you have a more solid wall.
That wall
No.
is, as a component of the engineering process that we're going to move into next, that
Okay.
wall is going to be sited appropriately so that it's located up the embankment and not down at the edge of the street. So
Okay.
that what you'll have in that particular situation is probably the equivalent to encounter a landscape treatment before you would ever get to the wall, which again is going to be located higher up the embankment.
Okay.
And that'll come out in the engineering exploration that's going to take place next.
Is it more forgiving if a car is speeding and hits it, or are we going to get the same outcome?
I think that
I
regardless of
see
whether.
SOT. Go ahead.
Yeah, Scott, do you want to talk about that?
Now, what we do is we take into account the crash analysis to make sure if the car hits, it would sway away, it moves away and not go through.
Okay.
So we will have a certain protection built in before the wall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, these nodes that we're talking about, there's your existing Walgreens at Simpson, and on this corner, there's an opportunity that presents itself for a really successful plaza there, a place where buses that stop at that intersection could let people out, where people could wait for those buses. Those all along that streetscape corridor, there's going to be a cohesive suite of site furnishings that consist of lighting up and down the street, lighting treatments, furniture for bicycles, furniture for waste, and then, of course, seating. Again, all playing off of some of the themes that we're going to investigate with that bridge overpass. We love this bridge, and not in its current state, but we love the future potential of this bridge is what I would tell you. For years, we've looked at the concrete pour that took place there and picked up off of those 1930s sort of Art Deco lines that you start to see there in the curved surfaces. We want to play that up. It actually has the potential to be a spectacular bridge. The understructure is really unique architecturally. Unfortunately, it's rusting. It just needs to be painted, and if we can paint that, enhance it, it'll be a really special, it has the potential to be a really special substructure. Currently, there's a separate citizen panel who's investigating alternatives for treating the sides of the bridge, but what we're focusing on and have the ability to affect will be the walls under the bridge. Wouldn't it be wonderful if those were sort of tiled in sort of like a classic subway tile? The understructure of the bridge would be painted maybe this wonderful sort of 1930s silver train color, and at night that whole thing could potentially just glow very softly with LED lights, so that that whole the underside of the bridge, in terms of the pedestrian underside or the portions where people are walking, the portions where people are driving are well lit, so that it feels much safer, and people understand that when they're approaching that intersection, that they know where they are, and that it's easily identifiable. Again, all playing into sort of like this 1930s era theme. That's what we're currently investigating, and that's what we hope to achieve. I'll hand things back to, if you have no questions about that, I'll hand things back to Sat, and he'll sort of summarize everything else.
Can audience ask a question now, or is it wrong time? Can somebody in the audience now or later? Later, not now. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, just the next steps. We request approval of one option tonight because we need to submit the final report to IDOT since this is federally funded. So we need to get the design approval from IDOT before we start the construction plans. So we are a little bit on a faster track to get the design approval by May at the latest and start the construction plans, so that we want to have all the plans in IDOT by September for basically the phase 2 construction plans. And hopefully we want to finish this construction next year. That's starting early in April and finish up by October.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Nagar. The only mention of bike infrastructure is the bike racks, bike storage options for this project. Can I don't want to close the conversation without at least addressing, after all the meetings, there was consideration of including bike infrastructure to this project, and what were the conclusions?
We will be providing a wider lane. These lanes, the travel lanes will be wider to accommodate the bikers. This will be a shared bike route.
So will it be an explicit shared route, or will it just be an informal?
It's a marked
Shared route,
bike
yeah.
route, means when you provide 13 feet wide travel lanes, you can pretty much, bike on those streets. It's the state. We'll make sure we meet with the state standards for the lane width, so that the bikers can use this section of Green Bay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but a big driver of this project has been pedestrian safety and pedestrian visibility and access to not just the bus stops, but what happens to people before they get to a bus stop and when they climb off a bus, and looking out for our pedestrians in this area.
Absolutely.
So the project and the meetings have all given consideration to visibility of pedestrians and where they're going and where they can be seen, and
Absolutely.
and the lighting.
Yes.
Director Robinson, did you want to say something?
Good evening, Committee Chair, Alderman Holmes, and the committee. Suzette Robinson, Director of Public Works. I just wanted to confirm that the biking along Green Bay is informal, would be an informal share the route concept. And in addition to addressing the pedestrian movement through the bridge area, Emerson Ridge, Green Bay, we also considered to make those lanes wider so that bikers can actually move from Emerson. The bike lane ends at Asbury, so they will be able to move through into the downtown area more easily under both design concepts or either design concept. So that was taken into consideration as well.
Yeah, because as we've discussed before, many times, we just in Evanston don't have a great north-south connector for bikes, and Green Bay may not be the best location for bikes, but at least wider lanes makes it possible, not so impossible as it is right now. One other question is, I saw in the landscaping plans that there is inclusion of bioswales, and I'm assuming that you've studied the incorporated green infrastructure as much as possible into this project, that it's a green street that you're envisioning here. Great, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Alderman Brathwaite? Oh, I'm sorry, we're getting ready to move it now.
She wants to say.
Yes, so what we're asking, we provided information. So either here or at City Council, we're requesting direction on which option that. Okay.
I got it.
Thank you.
Alderman Grover?
I think, and I would recommend that we approve the three-lane
Absolutely.
roadway option for this project.
Along with-
Right.
okay.
It's the one that, not only did we get the most positive feedback about it, but just intuitively, that's, if
Absolutely.
that's okay, Alderman.
Well, no, I'm absolutely fine with that, because that was the conclusion that I came to after attending the public meetings with the residents. So that's exactly where we'll go with it. Okay, Alderman Brathwaite, you want to?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to
Move
move item 3.9, approval for the Emerson Ridge Green Bay intersection and Green Bay Road Corridor Phase 2 Engineering Services contract with ESI Consultants LTD. Staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager to execute an agreement for Phase 2 engineering services with ESI in the amount of $499,880 and 52 cents for the selected option for Emerson Street Ridge Avenue. Is that where you want us
And
to
that's
put in?
election- yes,
Put
please.
in option number 3?
3. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess I'll finish. 2015 CIP funds in the amount of $354,100.
Okay, it's been moved in second, seeing no other lights. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Alderman Rainey, will you take A4?
Madam Chair, I ask the committee's approval for change order number 2 for automatic meter information system project. This change order decreases the amount of the contract by $25,332.50. and extends the contract duration by 88 days to February 17, which I'm assuming is in the past. It's got to be finished.
Kinda seems like that.
2015, and all the new transmission units are in, and the project's been complete.
Okay. It's been moved and second, seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Alderman Glover.
Madam Chair, I move A5, which is authorizing the city manager to apply for Homeland Security and Emergency Management Grant for body-worn camera problem-solving program.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, A6, ordinance 29-0-15, authorizing the city manager to negotiate with National School Tile Service Incorporated for the sale of the city-owned real property located at 1821 Ridge Avenue. We're also want to request suspension of the rules for this request tonight.
I'll second.
Alderman Rainey.
Madam Chair, could I get an explanation of the nature of this negotiation with the towel company? I don't quite understand why we're negotiating with the towel company.
I'm sorry, while we're negotiating with them?
I'm missing something here.
Oh, okay, Alderman, I'm sorry. Oh, you weren't here, okay.
Oh.
Mr. Bopowitz,
What did I miss? A secret meeting?
it wasn't a secret.
Yeah, it wasn't.
No secret meeting, Alderman Holmes, members of the committee, good evening. We have been approached by National Towel Service. They are looking to assemble a property for a project on their former site. In the process of their assembling of that property, it came to their attention and then to the city's attention that a portion of land is owned by the city of Evanston.
Right, no, I understand that. Let me just ask you, why aren't we selling it to the developer? I mean, haven't they already agreed with a developer to sell their property? Or are they the developer? That's the piece I don't know.
At this point, we are talking with National Towel Service. So under the laws of the city of Evanston, I'm unable to do anything further until this ordinance is passed. And so with our additional discussions, the purchaser may change, but at this point, under the laws of the city of Evanston, I'm required to come to you and have this ordinance passed.
Okay, here's the problem I have with this, and I'll tell you. By selling them this piece of property, and I understand that we've had it appraised and everything, by selling them this piece of property, it makes their property more valuable. I mean, so they're going to make more money off their property, right? I mean, off the package.
And Alderman Rainey, under the laws of the city of Evanston, I am not allowed to negotiate the sale of real property until this ordinance is passed. And so with this ordinance passage, we will do our best to make sure that the property is sold at the highest and fairest value to the appropriate party. But until such time that this ordinance is passed, I do not have that authority.
You know I know that. You know I know that. I don't like the deal. I don't like.
There is no deal.
No, but there's getting ready to be.
If the city council passes this ordinance, then I will have the ability to negotiate a deal.
Well, you'll sell it to, you're asking for the ability to negotiate the sale of this property with the towel company.
That's correct.
Because the towel company still owns the towel company, believe it or not.
Yeah, I understand that. But-
And I know that only
but
because they wanted our property next
There's another sale
door.
involved here. There's another sale. The following sale is going to be the big gun. I mean, and well, I'm not
And-
opposed to selling the property at all. I'm just opposed to the way this deal is looking.
And Madam Chair, Alderman Rainey, if I may ask the Corporation Council if it's appropriate for this ordinance to be amended so that the authority is given to the city manager to negotiate with the property, put the concern that has come to us or any other concern which may be willing to propose a deal. Would that be an appropriate amendment?
No, because it would not comply with what was published in the Pioneer Press.
Okay.
So an entirely new ordinance would have to be advanced.
So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I will commit to you that if this ordinance does pass and that there is another party, I will come back to you and ask for permission to negotiate with that other party.
Alderman Rainey?
Well, when we want to sell a piece of property, usually, we don't have a buyer. We put it out there for sale to the world. And I don't understand why this ordinance wasn't written that way.
And I would ask the Corporation Counsel to
like when we own this
indicate what the requirement is.
The notice of publication indicated that the negotiation was going to be authorized the city manager to speak to National Towel Service. So there's a publishing requirement. It's already out there, and so this ordinance is technically compliant with it as it stands this evening. Any other party, it would have to be handled a different way.
And so, Madam Chair, members of the committee, if it's the committee's desire for additional diligence to be done by staff, we would ask them that this be held in committee, and we will come back to you with proper renotice if there's a more appropriate party. But at this point, this is the information that we have in talking with the owner of the primary parcel, which is National Towel Service.
I see no other lights, but, so what is the committee's pleasure?
Just to move it as is.
Why do we have to suspend the rules?
That, we'd probably want to ask staff for that. I don't know if there's a timing issue, and I don't know if we can even discuss it.
I have no idea.
I'm
just reading what's here.
unaware of any specific timing issue other than your economic development staff being very diligent with your time, that since this is a authorization to negotiate prior to coming back with an ordinance approving the purchase, which will then have 2 readings. So there's nothing, if the council would either rather hold this in committee, not waive the second reading, I think it's really up to you. I'm not aware of any particular urgency other than, as you all know, developers like to develop, and there's urgency in that regard.
Yeah, no, I don't know of any
Oh, okay.
timing issues.
Alderman Grover?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brophy, what happens if we just put it out there on the market? If we authorize you to negotiate for any potential purchasers of the property?
Have
With
you
a
seen the
separate-
property?
Yeah. I
And you
it.
know, it's by a church also that's in our ward where Alderman Holm goes. So I mean,
Yeah.
the real use of the value or use of the property is
Not
to
that.
the
It's
towel
just,
company.
It's just that I think what Alderman Rainey's getting at is a little competition might benefit the city for the purchase price.
Ah,
Well, I'm thinking a little more deeply than that, actually.
and you want to share that with us?
Well, we have not been told that National Towel Company wants to expand their manufacturing or their
No.
light industrial service.
No, they're
If-
closed.
if-
They're closed.
I understand. But if they were, then I would say, absolutely, let's sell it to them so they can expand. But this is for another deal. This is for another deal. And it almost feels like they've got an in with us to sell them the property so they can then sell it to somebody else. That's my whole problem. That's my whole problem. I want us to sell the property. I just think the way we're doing it, tell the developer to come to the city. This property is much more valuable to the developer than it is to National Towel. National Towel is going to sell and make more money because they're going to own this property.
Madam
That's all
Chair.
I'm saying.
Okay, can we just hold it?
And actually, I would ask that rather than hold it, we would in talking with the Corporation Counsel, Alderman Rainey's points are very valid. We would like to redraft the ordinance so that there is no specific party named in the negotiation, as long as the council
And
is
then we
comfortable
can sell
with
it to
that.
National Towel.
Well, no, Alderman Rainey.
I'm thinking here.
Alderman Rainey, members of the council, as you know, and has been litigated in other Illinois communities, the issue of selling property is a public discussion. And so we are limited in the lead up of time. We can't not have this discussion we've just had in any place other than a public session. So now that we've had this discussion, I appreciate the committee's time. I would ask that we would withdraw this item from the agenda. We will come back with a different ordinance. We'll do the proper notice in the Pioneer Press and come back to you. But I appreciate the discussion. The laws of the city and the state of Illinois require that these discussions happen in open public, which they have just done. So thank you very much, and we'll come back on a different evening with a different ordinance.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. One more item, Alderman Breathwaite, A7. So on just to be clear, on A6, we're removing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, Alderman Ray, you bring up a really good point, and I would just like to take this moment to say this is one of those reasons, and I've expressed my frustration before, that when you're working on these big deals, it's really important to work with the aldermen of the ward. And I think your questions are valid. And although I know some of the moving parts, I don't know everything. And so I'll definitely circle back with our staff to kind of dig into the details, just so situations like this will not happen in the future. So thank you.
And also, we are limited. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, people think we get together
And do
discuss
things
We're
behind
not
closed.
allowed
Oh,
to.
no, I
Right.
completely understand. I think that's a reasonable question to expect, and it's rather disappointing.
And I would imagine that it was a surprise to most of us that we even own that property because it's such a teeny little piece there. And maybe that's another piece that we really do need to know, all of the public property that's city-owned in our wards, because sometimes we
And my
don't know that.
sense is, Alderman Holmes, member of the committee, that's the reason the Evanston City Code reads the way it reads.
Absolutely.
And so this is a very natural public process, and we will come back at a future meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you. Alderman Redway.
Yeah, Madam
A7.
Chair, I'd like to move item A7, ordinance 126-0-14, increasing the number of Class F liquor licenses for Highland Park CVS LLC, DBA CVS Pharmacy number 8760, located at 3333 Central Street.
It's been moved in second. Alderman Rainey.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, I would like to report that Little Beans and Big Beans Cafe is open and overwhelmed by its own popularity and just unbelievable success. Despite the issues with CVS, we are now through with CVS at Asbury and Overton, and Little Beans is the subleasee now, and we're just thrilled. So,
Fantastic. It's been moved in second. Seeing no other lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no other items for discussion. We have no communication. So could we have a motion for
Don't
adjournment?
do we have? Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the
You're ahead of us. AP&W should meet in 5 minutes?
maybe 7.
I'm sorry, P&D should meet at 7:15? Okay. And we are adjourned.